All right, guys, welcome to the show. Where's Victor at?
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Oh my God, Victor!
Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey, welcome to Reza Riffs, the real one.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
I see your dog is there.
Yeah, no, I'm just babysitting right now.
Yeah, you know what the problem about babysitting is? Is sitting on babies is always uncomfortable.
Well, not for me.
Ah,
Because they still got those soft bones.
yeah. Well, welcome to the show. All the folks at home, subscribe, rate, and review. We're recording now. And I'm Keith Reza, the host of Reza Riffs. Alan Lee is replaced today by Victor Pacheco. It's Pacheco, right?
It's Pacheco, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to mess it up when Rivera comes on.
Yeah, because then he'll be like, are you guys really even friends? Like, he doesn't know how to say it, like, to me, your last name is Reza. He was like,
Really?
no, it's Reza.
People do say they do say Reza is spelled because it's spelled with an E, but you say it with an A. People don't get that, so they say Reza or something. I was like, what am I, Maz Jabroni here? Jesus. Well, Victor, tell the folks where they could follow you.
They can follow me on all social media at Puro Papi Pacheco, or if that's too hard to figure out, you go to HispanicTitanic.com and scroll all the way to the bottom, and then just go to the links. Yeah.
Awesome. You go to the links.
The links. Yeah.
All right. Well, I have a couple shows for the folks at home. October 30th, I'm going to be at the Rec Room with Jeremy Hotz. So get your tickets, www.recroomhb.com. I got to sell that out because I begged him to come. And he's all like, what if people don't go? And I'm like, oh, no. So people go because it'll hurt his feelings if no one comes. You know what I mean?
That's every fucking comic, Keith. That's every comic. Oh, no one showed up? Oh, well, that's really fucked up. I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, I can't get paid unless I do this? Oh, okay.
Yeah. But, you know Jeremy Hotz, right? You've heard of him?
Yeah. I just don't know him personally, but yeah.
I used to tour with him because what happened was, it's a long story, but basically I got a job to tour with Jeremy Hotz for a year and a half. And I got to tell you, man, it was the best job I've ever had. I mean, touring with Norm's one thing, but touring with Hotz was like fun because he would really teach you how to read crowds if you're not doing well. And he would try and encourage you how to reverse your sets. You know what I mean? So in different orders and stuff. So that's what Jeremy taught me, because it's like, it would still be the same sets, but I could I learned how to put, for example, my 2.5 men joke, I usually say at the beginning, but I learned that I could skip that and do it in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what he taught me. So I'm really excited to work with him again because I want to see if he'll take me back on the road soon,
Jesus. Yeah, dude, it's funny as fuck. It's not happening anymore with me, at least, as the co-host. But like when you were just like, "Hey, do you have any questions for TJ Miller?" I'm like, "Yeah, can I open for you?" And just
That's a good question.
that's a great question. Like then he'll be like, "Yeah, I have a question for you. Who the fuck are you?" And I'll be like, I'm friends with Keith."
That's
Yeah.
that's a good question.
It's a great follow up too. Like,
What
who the fuck
do you
are
have
you?
a show tonight?
I do not.
Ah, you
Yeah.
should come do Harvell's with me.
What city's that in?
Long Beach.
I'll try to make it out there for sure. It's just that right now my sister-in-law is here and she has learning disability, and
Oh,
so I'm
so
babysitting. She's over 21, so we could definitely take her to the venue. But
so it's like me, learning disability.
you know how you can like drive your own car and like shower by yourself and prepare your own meals?
I could only do two of those things.
You can't prepare your own meals?
No.
Is it because you don't know how, or is it because you refuse to?
It's because I seriously don't know how. Like one time someone gave like when you go with me to a restaurant, this is I don't know if you've ever been, but like I can't even order. I have to have someone else order for me. Like I can't. It's really weird. So
Are
like
you shy, or why do you have to have? We go to a restaurant together, right? And you want to get a burger with whatever. I have to order for you.
yeah, like if it's an actual restaurant, if it's at a place where like I'm doing comedy or whatever, it's different. But like an actual where people don't know who I am.
Fuck, Keith. That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
It's
Like,
called
what
Asperger's.
No, what do you mean Asperger's? Oh, I'm performing at this venue, so they know who I am. I'm on the flyer, you know. Yeah, and these people that don't know me, oh no, they don't know me. I don't want to know them. Hey Victor, hey, you need to order for me. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And I'm not calling you out like, oh, that's a bad thing. It's more like,
well, my sisters hate being my sisters because they always have to. Or hey, Ty Rivera's here. Holy Lord!
praise God.
You ready?
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Our guest is inside the Zoom. You've seen him from Comedy Central, Last Comic Standing. He's the host of his own podcast, Unbothered with Ty Rivera. Ty Rivera is going to be on Reza Riffs, and I just let him in. I just let him in. All right. He's here. I know he's here. This is the Zoom acting all funky wonky. You still there, Victor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. As long as you're still here.
I'm still here. I'm not the star. I'm not the star by any means.
To steroid. Oh, there's Ty. I see Ty. Hi, Ty. I don't think he sees me. Oh, does he see me? Oh, hi, Ty.
Hey, give me just a second. Okay.
You got it, buddy.
And there we go. I gotta be honest, I'm not the most familiar with Zoom. I've stayed off it through the entire pandemic with the exception of one show and one podcast. So
and that was a terrible podcast, right? You didn't have fun doing that.
Oh, then two podcasts. I did Chrissy Mayer's podcast as well, and that was a good experience. I forgot about the Shang experience.
Yeah. Victor told me, hey, you got to listen to Shang's podcast with Ty. It was awesome. So I did, and I thought you were the best part.
Thank you. Yeah, and they know that too. I mean, like, they just weren't ready for, like, you know, me to yell at them. Which wasn't my intention. I thought we were going to have a good conversation because I don't mind when people disagree with me on politics or that kind of stuff. I'm not one of the people that gets mad about like just people having a difference of opinion. You know, it was just the way that they went at it that I didn't like. But I didn't care that, you know, and I knew what Shang's leanings were to begin with. So it wasn't like a situation where I went in ready to argue or whatever. I was fine to talk, but just like don't try to make me look stupid, you know?
Yeah. If anything, I should just make myself look stupid and have you agree with me.
Yeah, or let me talk and make myself look stupid. And all you have to do is switch the show from there on out. You know, it's like, all right, this is easy enough.
Now, Ty, there's oh, by the way, I should probably introduce the trusty sidekick, Victor Pacheco.
Hey.
It's Pacheco. It's Pacheco. Sorry.
Pacheco, how dare you? You know
Thank you, Ty. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He literally, he's like, hey, do you know a guy named Gene Pumbaa? Gene Pumbaa. I'm like, from the Lion King?
Like,
he made Pumbaa. He made Pumbaa. And then he fucks up white people's names too. So it wasn't just like, oh, it's a Mexican. No. Keith is not good at pronouncing regular words.
Oh yeah. Well, Keith also got hired for what was it? An Iranian wedding or Armenian? What was it?
Oh yes. And I asked you to open for me.
Yes, you did. And when we got there, it's one of the only gigs that I've ever chosen to completely not do. I mean, like, I'll show up and do anything. I showed up this and I was like, I'm going to ruin these people's wedding. Like, this is their wedding day. This isn't about a show or just a comic and like, let me do this gig. You know what I mean? It really was like, I will ruin their wedding.
And then what happened? Ty didn't want to go up and I ended up ruining their wedding.
Yeah. I let Keith ruin their wedding. And then we went out to eat at some like diner type spot that was actually really good. The food was
it was fun, man. And I was telling Victor about that story. I remember I asked you and like it was so weird because you don't usually do that stuff. You usually, open or headline yourself. You don't usually open for your friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I was fine with it. You offered me money, you were going to pay me. So it was like, I'll go. I mean, like, I wasn't booked. It was like a Friday or Saturday. And it sounded basic enough. Like, you just told me it was a wedding. You didn't tell me it was like.
That's what they told me. And I remember that. I remember the bride was crying because, like, I just ruined it. I was like, oh, God. And the groom still paid me. I was like, hey, this guy, he's getting a divorce, but he has class.
Well, and he should have paid you because no matter what, you did do the gig. You went up, you ate shit. And I don't mind. I mean that as an insult. Like, to me, the eating shit you did on that was a badge of honor because you said you would do it. You showed up. You actually did the gig. But I personally was just like, I'm not eating shit with you.
Were they non-English speakers, or how did you know it was going to be really shitty?
They spoke perfect English. That was the problem. They understood every word Keith was saying.
No, I'm just thinking like, oh yeah, like, oh no, I don't understand Habibi right here. Like
they had not spoken English. Had they not spoken English, I would have gone in, taken my beheading, and we would have gotten out of there.
We still would have went to Mel's though.
Yeah, Keith would have taken my headless body to the diner.
Be like, hey, this is my friend Ty.
Yeah, his head is at a hall in Orange County, but whatever.
Now, Ty, one thing that I won't say that I like you because I actually love you. I really love you. And one of the things I love about you is you have a reputation of being difficult, but I always find difficult people are the most funny and most real.
I love you too. Let me start with that. That happened when we were in El Paso. Well, when we were doing the EP comedy tour, was it? Remember when EP comedy? Remember we were in
Richard Villa?
No, we were at, it wasn't Richard Villa, but Richard Villa was connected with those guys. Sam, remember?
Sam Butler, yeah.
Yeah, Sam Butler. And we were, so yeah. And, when it comes to like me being difficult or people saying that I'm difficult, I don't mind that people say it, but I don't really understand where that comes from because usually what people say that I'm difficult for is because I'll actually ask people to stick to their word. Like one time I got labeled as difficult because I was very clear with the booker about the fact that, and this was weeks before we did the gig, a booker hit me up and he was like, I'd like you to do this gig. It's in like Calexico or Mexicali, one of those two. And he was like, you know, he gave me the details, and I was like, cool. I was like, the only request I have, you know, because he told me what I was getting paid or whatever. I was like, the only request I have is that I get my own hotel room. And then, because I had just come back from a week performing with Bruce Jingles in Corpus Christi, Texas, and we had to share a hotel room for that entire week. So it's a week of me not having, and I spend a lot of time alone. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
For me,
I wouldn't want to spend a weekend with Bruce Jingles in the same room.
Yeah, and it was we were a solid week together because we had to drive to Corpus Christi together. We drove in my car. Bruce hasn't had a license in forever, so I had to do all of the driving. So we had to leave extra early, and then it was I think it was a Wednesday through a Sunday or a Thursday through Sunday. Anyway, it came down to 7 days of me not having any alone time, which was fine. You know, I mean, like I was newer back then. I was cool with dealing with it. So then when I come back and this guy goes to book me for this gig, I just made it very clear that, you know, I understand if you can't do it, I just will skip on the gig. I prefer not do it if I can't have my own hotel room. And so the guy says that he's all right with that. I'll get my own hotel room. That's not a problem at all. The night we get there, they don't have a hotel room for me.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're not even talking like, you know, a Sheraton or, you know, a Renaissance or anything like that. We're not even talking La Quinta. We're talking an actual Motel 6. That's where they have us. So they don't have a room for me. They say that they want to take, well, what happened was, you know, we were running late. So I just put my stuff in Bruce's room because I had a room for Bruce. I put my stuff in Bruce's room and I was like, we'll get it figured out after the show. I talked to them. They say they're going to take care of it after the show. And then what happens is after the show, they're like, we want to take Bruce to the strip club. Is there any way that just for tonight, you can share a room with Bruce, and then tomorrow morning we'll take care of your room? So I say, okay. You know, I'm still not happy about it, but I'm also not being an asshole. You know, I'm just like, all right, whatever. I get it. Guys want to go to the strip club, go to the strip club. And so that happens. The next day, the next morning, I hit up the booker and I'm like, I just wanted to see when we were going to be able to handle the hotel room situation and get me in my own room. And he was like, oh, I'm already on my way to Long Beach. So it doesn't look like we're going to be able to take care of that. He was like, if the show sells really well, though, we'll get you your own room tonight. And then I was like, well, that wasn't the deal, and I'm not the headliner, so I have nothing to do with the ticket sales. You know, I'm not in charge of that. And I had been Bruce Jingles' ride. This is when Brad Williams was still doing one-nighter. So Brad Williams was the headliner. Bruce was the feature. I was the opener. And so Brad's car had broken down. He drove a Miata at the time, and it completely broke down. It ended up not being fixable, you know. That was the end of that part of that story. But so I was everybody's ride at that point. And so I told the guy, like, look, I need my own hotel room. We agreed on that to begin with. It was what you're talking about now has nothing to do with that. And so he's like, well, we're not going to be able to do that. And I was like, cool. Well, then Brad and Bruce can figure out how they're going to get home. If it's not figured out within an hour, I'm leaving.
Holy Lord.
Yeah. And so I hung up the phone and he tried to call me back and I wouldn't answer. I had already told him he had an hour to get it figured out. That's what I said. That's what it is.
All right.
And so then there's a knock at the door a few minutes later, and I open the door and there's nobody standing there. And then I look down and there's Brad Williams with the Motel 6 key for me.
Oh, Brad's a sweetheart though.
No, but Brad didn't take care of it. The guy ended up taking care of it after.
So Brad was taking his points then.
He just had Brad go take me the key. And so then that guy went around for 2 years, no less than 2 years, bad-mouthing me to anybody that would listen, saying that I was unprofessional and making it seem like I had asked him for something that was out of line when that was our agreement to begin with. And that was kind of the start of where people started calling me difficult. And that's what, like, I could run down, I just gave you one example, but I could run down a million of them and tell you every reason that I've been called difficult. And you would find at the end of all of those stories, it was always like a promise wasn't met or somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Well, I don't think being difficult is a bad thing. I mean, people have labeled me as being difficult, but I tend to think the people, I mean, that's how our minds are. We're just geniuses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, also these people don't give enough credit to the fact that, if you're mad because the mic isn't working, that's not difficult. I mean, like, I can work through there not being a mic. I've done shows where it's been town crier style and stuff like that. But at a point, it's like, I've been doing this for 18 years. Can I
18 years? Holy Lord.
Yeah.
When did I meet you then? Because I've been doing it for 16 years.
Really? I think we didn't meet until quite a bit into, both of our career, because we probably met.
I met you at the Bill Word Laugh Down. That was the first time I remember actually meeting you, but I don't remember doing the show with you.
Yeah, that had to be around 2010.
Yeah.
2009, 2010, because I was on, like,
you
that
won that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to force my win out of him.
Tell me the story on that.
Well, what happened was, okay, this one, I admit I could have, well, I don't know if I regret the way I handled it, because it got what it was that was supposed to be right. Okay, here's the thing. I did the contest. Not that many people showed up for me on the last night, but I'm not a bringer comic, and I didn't, you know what I mean? So it was just like that kind of situation. But I knew that you could win off enough number 2 votes. And so I absolutely killed it that night, because I had no pressure, because I thought there was no way that I could win it anyway. Even though I knew that you could win off number 2 votes, I wasn't counting on that. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to win, And so what happened was, I really, really killed it. And to the point where all the other comics were congratulating me on winning, even though the judging hadn't started, the show wasn't over, none of that, right? Or the voting hadn't come in. But all the other comics were congratulating me on winning. So then when Bill announces the top 3, because, that's the way they used to announce it, was top 3. He announces top 3. I didn't even make top 3. And I killed it. Like, everybody knew that I technically, just by comedy, had won. But I was willing to accept that it was a bringer, kind of a bringer contest. And so I was not tripping. But where I did get annoyed was, like, 1, I didn't even make top 3. So that seemed kind of weird. But I was still being cool about it. I was still willing to be a good sport. And so I went to shake Bill's hand, and he was like, packing up his stuff, whatever he had or whatever. So I went over and I was like, I just wanted to say thank you for having me in your contest. And then he like pretended he didn't hear me and just kept doing his stuff, but I knew he had to hear me. So then I said it again. I was like, hey, Bill, I just wanted to say thank you for having me in your contest. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. And then he pretended he didn't hear me again. So I repeated it one last time. And at this point, I got to admit, I was annoyed because he was pretending not to hear me. And then he was like, oh, what's that? And so I had to repeat it again. And then he went to shake my hand finally. And then when he went to shake my hand, I grabbed his hand and I pulled him in. And I was like, I just want you to know your contest is bullshit and I'll never do it again. And then he was like, what did you say? I said, I just want you to know your contest is bullshit and I'll never do it again. And then he was like, are you saying I'm dishonest? I said, no, I said your contest is bullshit. You said you're dishonest. And then, and so
and then he's like, ladies and gentlemen, the winner, Ty Rivera.
Yeah, he was like, well, why would you say I'm dishonest? And then I was like, because I didn't even make top 3. Really, Bill? Not even top 3? I was like, I can understand if I'm not first, but I didn't even make top 3. I know I had to get number 1 votes, and I know I had to get a bunch of number 2 votes. And Jackie Fabulous, was sitting right behind him. And when I said, I know I got number 1 vote, she was like, you got number 1 on my ballot. And so I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I congratulated the winner, who was Kate Gary. That was the winner that they
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
She had brought the most people, though. So I would have understood that even if if they had made her number one and me number two, just because by votes I could see how that would happen, you know? So at least it would have been within the realm of possibility, even if you felt like, you know, comedically it wasn't a fair win. But I don't care about that, because if you choose to do a bringer contest, then you have to choose to accept bringer results, you know? So I didn't mind if that's the way it turned out. But what happened was I congratulated Kate. I said goodnight to everybody. Me and my friends had a plan of going to Denny's afterwards. And I refused to be a spoil sport in the way that, like, you know, when me and my friends have a plan to go out or eat or go out to a club or something after a show, whether the show goes good or bad, I'm still going to do what the plan was, because I'm not going to shit on my friends for it. They showed up for me, you know, and so we were going to Denny's. So we leave. We get to the Denny's and Bill is like, and Ron Swallow calls me and says, Bill Word just called and he wants your phone number. Can I give it to him? And I was like, yeah, Bill has my number, but you can go ahead and give it to him. And so Ron gives Bill my number. Bill calls me when I'm at the Denny's and he's like, I'm just calling to let you know that we made a huge mistake. Actually, you won by the most number 2 votes ever in Laugh Down history. And he was like, I know you're probably home already, so I'll just get the check to you next week. And then I was like, actually, I'm at a Denny's right up the road, so you can bring my check right now. So I gave him the address to the Denny's. He showed up at the Denny's. He presented me with my check. I insisted we take a picture together. If you ever see the picture, we're sitting at a Denny's booth. He's got his arm around me. He's sweating like a fucking madman. I'm super happy with my head cocked to the side. And my check has Kate Gary's name scratched off of it. I'm not even lying. The date of the order has Kate Gary's name scratched off of it. And yeah, that's how I won the Laugh Down.
Holy Lord. Wow. Victor, do you have a crazy question for Ty after that one?
I have a bunch of questions. I didn't know about this. Okay, for the record, I know most comedy competitions are, you know, they're fixed, you know, for whatever reasons. You know, they never pick the best. I want to
talk about comedy. Sorry, Victor, but while we're on this subject, remember Ty was the guest. I don't know if you were the judge, but I know you were definitely, because you did a set at the Ice House when I did the LA's Funniest Persons contest.
Yeah, I was a judge one night and I was what's it called another night?
And I remember I came in second place and I lost to Jose Raymond. I was like, how did that happen? Right? But I will say me and Jose had the best sets of the night, but then Dante comes up to me, he's like, you lost by 19 points. I was like, if I came in second, how terrible was everyone else? You know what I mean? Because 19's a huge chunk, you know?
Well, Dante is probably one of the most full of shit booker comics that you'll ever meet in your life. You know,
he's my manager.
Oh, well, then I stand corrected. He's one of the most bullshit comic producer managers that you'll ever meet.
That's what I love about Ty. Ty doesn't just double down. He triples down, quadruple downs. He doesn't give a fuck. And he's just like, oh, really? Okay, cool. I have more on my arsenal. I
think he's a great guy. Dante, if you're listening, that's all Ty.
Hey, Dante, send Rebecca my love.
No, Victor, ask Ty your question. I'm sorry for interrupting.
I guess we got a bit of a an uncomfortable moment. I apologize. Next time, tell me this before I show up on the podcast. I definitely wouldn't have said it if I had known that he was your manager. I'm trying to make you feel better. Turns out he's your manager. So.
Well, that's what I won. I didn't win the title. I won the rep or whatever.
Ask him if he has room on the roster. I could use some representation.
Wait, your fucking manager placed you second instead of number one? I don't think he's looking out for your best interest.
He wasn't my manager at that time.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah. Whatever.
he signed me that night.
Okay.
You know, he's like, Keith, because I have a very sophisticated sense of humor where people either like it or they don't. There's no in the middle. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so when I kill, no one's better than me. But then when I bomb, everyone's better than me.
Yeah, nobody's worse. When I bomb, nobody's worse.
When I bomb hard, baby.
That's me too. Like, people always say that to me. People are always like, you never bomb. And I'm like, no, I bomb, but I just bomb less frequently. But the thing you have to remember is when I bomb, I bomb. It's not, there are no.
There's no in between.
Decision when I bomb. It's not.
All right, Victor, ask Ty your question. I know you were just begging that.
I wrote like 8 questions. Like, this was my podcast, but no. Okay.
Ask Ty your best question. Yes,
okay, fine. No, because I have like 8 questions. Okay, like, what's the most important for stand-up, or what's the most important for me? Because those are 2 totally different fucking questions.
Ask them both. We have them till 45.
Most important for you, and I'll answer. I'm first.
Okay, I love you, Ty. Thank you so much for that. Okay, unlike Keith, he's like, no, ask you one question, then we're gonna move on. But good asshole.
He's like, chop chop.
All right, listen. Your question has to be in the 10 seconds.
I'm missing Seinfeld reruns.
Dude, it's on Netflix. Just pause that shit.
Oh, sorry to cut into your Seinfeld watching schedule.
Jeez.
I think his question is, Ty, is this one of the best podcasts you've done so far?
That was not my fucking question. Ty, don't answer that. You don't have to answer that.
I like how you've turned into my attorney. Ty, don't answer that. I will not answer that.
I was within 500 feet of the discovered cocaine that was not his possession. And no, I'm just kidding. Ty, no, I'm just kidding. Jesus Christ. Okay, so this is one for me. This one's for me.
Okay.
And for a lot of comics, this is for comedians that suffer with depression. But here's a question. What's the best advice you'd give the comedian who is super depressed but has to perform and is overwhelmed by their depression?
Snap out of it. Just playing. That's the worst advice. Stop being a pussy. Depression isn't real.
Okay, note who not to call when I want to commit suicide. Ty Rivera.
The most insensitive answer ever. You know what I mean?
Get over it, you fucking pussy. I'm sorry, but
parents are right.
Oh man, that was a good question though. Too bad Ty didn't have a good answer.
No, but honestly, what I would say, like my best advice, because I've dealt with depression too. I've talked about it before, and like, to me, the most important thing, Mike Muratori gave me this advice about stand-up, and this like covers depression as well. But like, the best thing in every situation is always to go up. No matter how you're feeling, whether you're depressed, whether you're physically sick, outside of like COVID, and that's only because you could be a danger to others, you know, but you should always go up. And I know that no matter how bad I'm feeling, because I've had situations where I had just had like a nasty breakup, and I immediately had to go do stand-up, like right after, like, you know, my life was in ruins, really. Like, because, you know, there was one particular time where there was this guy that I was dating that was just super toxic, and it wasn't all his fault. You know, he had been diagnosed with HIV while we were dating. And so he was really dealing with that. And this was back early 2000s. So it was a little closer to when people were really afraid of AIDS and HIV. So his whole family was basically making him believe that he had this death sentence, and it caused him to spiral. And so, there was just this really big blow up, and I had to move all my stuff out of the place that we were living. At the time, we were living like tweakers in a weekly, but we weren't on drugs or anything. We just were between places to live. And so we're living at this shitty weekly motel. All this stuff goes down. I have to move all of my stuff out of this crappy motel room into my car. As for the foreseeable future, I was going to be living in my car, and I had to go do a show because I had committed to do it. And so I went and did that show, and it definitely didn't make it so everything was all right, but it did make me feel better, at least for that little while that I was on stage. And that's always been my escape. So that's what I would tell comics is, in that way, use it as an outlet, but I wouldn't say to get on stage and use the stage as therapy for that particular thing. Try your best to just do your regular act, because it'll take you out of what it is that you're thinking about that's been bringing you down. And sometimes even just that minute or that 5 minutes or 7 minutes or whatever you're doing your set of just completely like getting rid of that and focusing on making other people happy will make you feel better. And then you'll see at least a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, where you're like, okay, well, at least I felt good for that 5 minutes that I was on stage. So, now back to my depression, but at least I know that this doesn't have to stay this way. That would be my advice.
When my grandfather died 11 years ago, I did stand up the night after, and I opened for Rick Martinez, who, whatever, he's not a great guy, but I appreciate the gig. You know what I mean?
He's my manager.
Yeah. He's your manager now. And then last month when Norm died, I tried to do stand up the night after, but I started crying. And I think it's a different vibe because my grandfather had nothing to do with comedy, where Norm, who I opened up for 7 years, I did 300 shows a year with. It was a total, like, I'll be honest with you, Victor, like, you're asking the depression. I have a gig tonight, and I've only performed 4 times since Norm's dead, and I feel I'm not ready yet. You know what I mean?
I've been there for 2 of them, though, man.
Yeah.
I've been there for 2 of them, and one time you killed, and the other time you did all right.
And then Barry Sobel was at that one that I killed.
Keith convinced me that some fucking pudgy-looking white guy with glasses was Barry Sobel. And Keith is such a fucking weird-ass dude that he goes up to this guy and he says, hey, man, can you tell my fat Mexican friend over there that you're sorry for blocking him on Facebook? Trust me, he'll get it. And he does this behind my back. And then so this fucking pudgy-ass white guy with glasses comes up to me. He's like, hey, dude, he shakes my hand. He's like, I'm really sorry for blocking you on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, dude, yeah, no, it's okay. And I swear to God, at this time, I think it's fucking Barry Sobel. And I'm like, he's like, hey, you should post about it on Facebook. And I'm like, I know, Keith. If he wants to post about it on Facebook, he's fucking with me. That was not Barry Sobel. It was not Barry Sobel. Because Keith said he was going to get up on the mic. He never got up. Fucking Ahmed had no idea who the fuck he was. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Keith's fucking with me. But it was like, he got me, though. He really did get me. He got me for like at least like an hour and a half.
Well, yeah, and it's a big moment when you think Barry Sobel is in the room.
I think we all have a Barry Sobel bad experience.
Careers are made and broken when Barry Sobel is in the room.
Oh, my God.
Ty, I wanted to ask you this. Which one do you think is harder to do? An hour set or a 5-minute set?
Well, now, because I've been doing the hour for so long, it kind of goes by pretty quickly. The 5-minute set, I don't know. I don't think either of them are really difficult. I don't even mind the 3.5-minute set anymore, or the 3-minute set. I think it's just a matter of understanding what the different goals are. I think when a lot of the comics that have been doing it for as long as I have, as long as we have, they stop doing open mics, and that makes it so they're not good at doing the 5 minutes. But for me, like, 5 minutes is really cool. I think I like the 5 minute better because I have a lot more freedom, because it's just 5 minutes. And so I don't care how I do. And I can just riff for 5 minutes. But, I don't know. I guess for most comics, not for me personally, but for most comics, the 5 minute is harder.
Yeah, I would agree. I think 5 minutes is I could do 10 like that, no problem. But 5 minutes, it's like, what do I say?
Yeah, well, you get used to doing the longer sets and you get used to that, like having that breathing room. And then a 5 minute set, you've got to condense everything down. So I'll usually just give them all pops and like a concentrate, and so that's what I do in 5 minutes.
I wanted to ask you, when you did the stand-up revolution with Gabe, how was that? Not necessarily like the, working with him, but how was your, what's that word? Adrenaline? You know what I mean?
Adrenaline.
Yeah, that's the word. How is that when you were filming it? Because like that was your first TV thing, right?
No, that was actually my third TV appearance, my second time on Comedy Central. I had done Live at Gotham back in 2009. When I did Gabe's show, that was, I think, 2013, or maybe it was 2012.
You have to forgive me. Dante sent me a whole bunch of bad notes.
Wait, for Ty? Because I called out Ty in an elevator about his hair. Like, that's how fucking serious I was about his stand-up revolution episode. And
no, I was just making Ty laugh, like, because I should have this down because I'm the host. But yeah, all right, go back. Third.
You know how Ty feels about Dante, though.
I love him. He's one of the best in the business. On all fronts, he's a true triple threat.
He can sing, he can dance, and he can joke.
I mean, he'll ruin your life. He'll ruin your social media. He'll ruin your show. Triple threat.
So back to the question, because okay, so maybe not when you did Gabe, but when you did your first TV, like how is that?
No, but I don't mind answering the Gabe question because that really is like it's accidentally a good question because here's what happened the first time I did Comedy Central. Okay, my first TV appearance was on the Logo Network. That was really great, but except for the fact that I was being sexually harassed the entire time, which one day I'll go into that like in detail. I've tried to talk about it before, and it's something that I think is important to talk about when I have a bigger platform because, with Me Too and stuff like that, people are always talking about why didn't the women speak up sooner? It's like a lot of people do try to speak up sooner. Like,
no, 100%. Like I've been, and no one believed me. And then when something happened, it's like, oh, now you guys believe me?
Yeah, you know what I mean? I tried to bring up my sexual harassment, several times on social media, probably 2 or 3 times now on social media. And the amount of backlash I get because there are certain people that like this person is just ridiculous. So that was happening, but the set itself was great. And the rest of the crew was great. But it was just that one person that was really, really, so, so overall that was good, like as far as the experience itself being on TV. Then when I did Comedy Central for the first time for Live at Gotham, I made the mistake of letting a friend fly out, one of my comedy friends that no longer does comedy. She wanted to come out and she was going to bring her brother. And like we ended up hanging out the night before. We didn't drink or anything, but we hung out the night before when I really should have been like thinking about my set and stuff like that. And Comedy Central kept you down in the basement of Gotham. There's a bar in the basement. So they kept us, the performers, down in the basement. So you didn't have any idea what was happening in the room, what the vibe was. It turned out everybody was bombing before I went on. So I had to dig myself out of that hole. And I hadn't remembered, or it hadn't occurred to me, because, in order to do Comedy Central, you have to give out an entire typed, an entire transcript of what you're going to do before you do it, because they have to approve it through their different departments.
It's weird how because when I did Stand Up for Diversity, they did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And it was really weird. I find that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like standard practices, FCC, and marketing and advertising are the 3 different that they had to go through at that time, Yeah. And so, but what I forgot about and what all comics should remember is they do approve your jokes they don't necessarily care about the order. And if I hadn't been so stuck on thinking that I had to do them in the order, I just in my head thought I had to do them in the order that I had sent them in. And so between the hanging out with friends and not being as on it as I should have been, and then the the fact that everybody had bombed and I didn't know that, and it was weird not being able to be in the room, and then I go on stage and it took me a little bit to get them. I eventually got them. It went really well by the end. But when you're thinking about the fact that all your friends, because that was flashing through my head as I'm doing it, I'm thinking about the fact that all of my friends are going to be watching this, because it's my first time on Comedy Central. To the home viewing audience, it looked all right. I mean, it's on my YouTube, but to the home viewing audience, it looked all right. But for me, it was borderline traumatic, and right. I didn't have a good time. So with the Gabe situation, I was like, this is my chance to redeem myself. And so the adrenaline was crazy when I got on, because it was just like that, feeling like this was my chance to redeem myself. My hair didn't come out the way that I wanted it to because I used the wrong product. Thank you very much, Victor Pacheco.
Hey, fuck you. That was my brother who's a cosmetologist / barber. He's like, this guy's bald. This guy's bald. No, okay, for the record, let me just stand up real quick. No, okay, listen. Ty's hair was straight up fucking pushed forward and gelled or moussed or waxed, one of those styling products, and it looked to my brother who's a cosmetologist a natural. And I was all like, and this is my original response, I was all like, who fucking cares? You're both gay. Talking to my brother and you, Ty, because I didn't know you. You both looked really gay. So I told my brother, he's a fucking barber. I love him with all my heart. I love you with all my heart.
Well, what really hurts my feelings about that is that I've always I really do pride myself on my natural look.
Right. I could tell. Hey, but I guarantee you your hair looks better than Dylan Garcia's.
Natural. I would never do anything to alter myself or
well, yeah, with all your fucking liposuction to have those fucking abs you have. Those aren't naturally earned and shit. No, seriously. I follow Ty on Instagram, and you should too. And is it official Ty Rivera? Ty. Official Ty Rivera, dude.
Yeah.
I follow Ty on the Facebook.
No, you got to do it on Instagram though too, because look, Ty puts up these sexy ass pictures of himself where he's like, I look like shit. I'm like, shut up, you fucking Mexican Barbie doll, Mexican Ken Barbie doll.
Thank you, but I do at those times really feel like I look like shit. I'm a body dysmorphic, so and I don't that's not at all feel bad for me or whatever. There's worse things than making sure that you're skinny. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, Ty, I look at you
Victor
and
complains about being fat. Being fat's not so bad, And
then when Ty complains about being fat, I'm just like, oh God. If this is the Truman Show, Ty's like, you fat fuck. You're such a fat fuck. But I know you're not body shaming nobody like that. But at the same time, your body compared to mine, if I were to do a straight up showing my nipples and my titties, challenge or whatever, and I tag Ty, and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is the guy that inspires me to be hot.
This is very hurtful to me though, because as a fellow fatty, I just thought you would be.
You.
I just thought you would be more supportive of my struggle. I just thought you would be more supportive of my struggle. Real women have curves, Victor.
The only thing that's fat about you are your lips, and I've thought really gay things about them as a hetero dude. I'm just like, Ty's got some fucking lips. He could probably suck a dick. And you're top though. So I'm like, do tops suck dick? And I'm like, if I ask Ty, he's gonna be like, why are you messaging me about this? Like honestly, it's 3 a.m. and I'm like, Ty, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm looking at the fucking post you just put up right now. And
Thank you, but that's why I right now I'm letting the filler run out of my lips, you know what I mean? But they are only gonna get so small. My lips are still big. But But I do like get my lips made bigger so that people will think that I suck dick. You know what I mean? Like to make men think about. But the real trick to me is
Do you
like
suck dick though?
I do, but not really.
What's the ratio on dudes? Not that I'm trying to get in the mix.
I'll give it a courtesy swab, but I'm not gonna fucking.
Wait, oh no, I'm a dude. I like getting my dick sucked. How long's a courtesy swab? Is it like less than a minute? Because you sounded like my wife right now, like I sucked your dick, and I'm like, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
On the spot, man.
I'm putting my wife on the spot too.
You should ask Barry Sobel this question.
But my wife's over 18. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, she's 37. But yes.
Ty, I have 2 more questions, and I want to respect your time. But question
nobody else does. I don't know why you're trying to be such a trendsetter now. Nobody else takes my time.
Why? Do you believe in Q?
I do not believe in Q. I got to be very clear about that because I voted for Trump. And when you vote for Trump and people bring up Q, you got to be very clear about, no, I do not. We do not joke about Q. It's not a thing.
That was a callback to Savage as Fuck, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. I know. Fucking assholes.
You better not have caught any flack for that because I was like, no, he doesn't believe me. What the fuck? You're like, when you said Trump was fun, I was like, okay, Ty voted for him because he doesn't give a shit about the political process, democratic process. You know, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. And then, like what got on my nerves with Savage as Fuck though is when they were like, we just need yes or no questions. So when you were in the 5th grade, and I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't sound like we're headed towards a yes or no.
That sounds like needs a paragraph answer.
Yeah, and then I was like, and I told them, and that wasn't the exact question they asked me or how they set it up, but like immediately after they asked me a question that wasn't a yes or no, and I was like, there's no way to give that a yes or no answer, and they acted like I was being difficult about that, and I was like, it's just not a yes or no question. You just said yes or no answers, but you didn't give me yes or no question. But go ahead. What's the next question?
Okay. So we'll start with the serious one, and then we'll end on the good one. So I know that you've been bullied on social media before, and I have too. And you've been in comic beefs and stuff, we all have. I wanted to ask your advice on like, what's your advice to get out of it, or do you just continue it? Because there has to go to a point where you say, listen, we're both adults, and it's not helping us. Like, do you ever move on from it, or do you stay in that lane?
When it comes to comic beef specifically, I do less and less of that all the time. Like I'll debate things with other people now when it comes like right now with what's going on with Dave Chappelle and stuff like that. Right. I've been debating that with a lot of people, but it's only as an LGBT person. Because for me, I think it is important, like, a lot of what's going on and what they're saying about LGBT. For me, that is important to address those issues, especially as a gay man, especially as a gay comic, especially as a gay comic that has a lot of trans friends, and so like in that, I'll debate that with people. But as far as just comic beef, a lot of that now I try to stay out of because I really don't feel it's productive. And I feel like in a lot of cases, well, I'll tell you one thing that's like really opened my eyes to a lot of this is if you look back at a lot of the beef that I've had with different people, most of those people, I'd say 95, maybe even more, 90, maybe like 97, 98% of them do not even do stand-up anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So my reputation took a bit of a hit because I got into it with these people. And like, people always make it seem like I'm mean. And I'm not any meaner than the people that come after me. I'm just better at it than a lot of that. And, I'll say things that are more clever or funnier. And so like, it makes me look bad. So my reputation took a hit over people that didn't turn out to be stand-ups anyway. So it was really a waste of time.
Yeah. I got into a huge beef, and I got scheduled on a show with this guy, and this guy's a national headliner. And, I told the booker, I was like, look, there's an issue here and I don't want to ruin the show. Would it be okay if I do the following week, or if you know what I mean. Like I tried to do it like that because the guy's really funny too. I was like, there's no need to have us on the show ruining that. You know what I mean? And so they didn't buy it. They scheduled me on the show too, and I was like, oh fuck.
Who was it?
Who do I have a beef with?
Yeah.
Oh, Brian Scolaro.
Brian Scolaro, how'd that happen?
I could talk to you after. I mean, I don't want to like talk on the podcast. I mean, it's known that we don't like each other, but there's two sides to every story, and I don't want to ill wash him on the podcast. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about it. I'll just hit Brian up.
Good. Hell yeah.
I'll have Brian on Unbothered. Me and Brian will get unbothered about it. Why not?
That sounds good. But the last question I had for you is you did comedy, and then it seems like you worked your way fast to a headliner because you were featuring for Joe Coy for a while, and then the next thing you were a headliner. What were advice for other comics to do that? Would you say featuring really helped you get that reps in?
You know what? On that, I would tell other comics, like a lot of comics didn't see the work that I was doing during that time. But what it was the entire time that I was working with Joe Coy, I never stopped doing the open mics, and I never stopped doing the smaller spots. So even though, because, Joe had me on a crazy schedule, because what happened with me and Joe was when I first started working for him, he liked me so much that he was like, look at my schedule, and anything you want to do, you can do. And then I looked at his schedule and I was like, I want to do all of it. And then he started laughing and he was like, well, I wasn't expecting that answer. And I was like, yeah, well, if it's possible, if you don't want me on certain things, I don't mind. But if you leave it up to me, I would like to do all of it. So he was like, okay, then we'll have you on everything. And so even though he had me on that crazy schedule and I'd be working from, I'd fly out on Thursday. I would always fly out on Thursday, even though we had a Thursday show, which only was to my detriment one time. Other than that, it wasn't a problem. But Monday through Wednesday, or sometimes Sunday through Wednesday, because at a point he decided he wasn't going to do Sunday shows anymore because he wanted to spend more time with his son. And so Sunday through Wednesday, I would do whatever people would have me on. So people would ask me to headline because, since I was featuring for Joe Coy, even though technically I probably shouldn't have been headlining yet, but I did really well. So I guess I should have been headlining, it didn't hurt anything. Right. But I would go to Fresno, I'd go to Bakersfield. If they were going to pay me to go out there and headline their show, I would do that. So that helped me progress even faster because I was willing to work the days that, because a lot of comics, that's one thing I noticed with a lot of comics get hooked up with a big headliner and start featuring for a big headliner. They'll decide that that's all they're going to do now. So, they won't. You do that?
I did that with Norm. Yeah. I was like Norm did the exact same thing Joe said to you, except he never let me go to New York. That was the one place I always wanted to go. But Norm's he's like, you're not a New York comic, man. I didn't know what that meant, but yeah. I've never been to New York, and that's the one place I always wanted to go,
Yeah, I did Caroline's with Joe in New York. I think I only did Caroline's once, though. You know what I mean? Because certain places, because I was with him for a year and a half, and certain places we repeated. But I think New York we only did once. And then I did New York once on my own, but just Comedy Juice when they had that at Gotham and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that would be my advice to comics is if you get hooked up with the big headliner, don't make the mistake of thinking that means that you shouldn't do your own thing on the side, because definitely do the Fresnos, the Bakersfields, or, whatever city you're in, whatever the outskirts are, if they'll have you headline. And yeah, that sometimes meant that, on a Wednesday night before I had to fly out on Thursday, that I would have to drive 3.5 hours. I think it was 3.5 hours to get to Fresno, and then 3.5 hours back. And then I'd be tired as fuck on my flight, but I would always just sleep on the plane.
Yeah.
And so That's what I would say. It's just, just continue to go up, even if you've got a good situation, because then you'll progress faster. And then those relationships sometimes will last forever. Like I have some people from my Joe Coy days that still book me to headline their gigs or hit me up.
Yeah. Now, Victor, we're running out of time. Did you want to tell Ty your great joke about the dad who talks to about the son who talks to the dad?
Keith, that is your joke. I don't have that. I thought you were gonna ask me for a follow up, and I'm like, oh, I just highlighted my second fucking best
Ty
question.
wants to hear a good joke to end the show.
Let's have Victor ask a question. I don't feel like Victor. I mean, like, you can't completely sidekick your sidekick.
No, he sidekicked me, curb stomped me, American History X specialed me.
Yeah,
I know. It's fine. No, Ty, if you have the time, then great. Here, because I got a ton of questions. But this is my next most important question. Because me as a writer, we all have different writing processes. So this is my question to you. Do you sit down to write, or does something funny happen and then you write it down? Or what's your writing process?
The more this gets brought up, the more it's a good thing you brought it up, because I need to shame myself about that.
Okay.
Because I really do need to sit down and write more. I put out a bunch of new material all the time, but it's all written on stage. So, it's just me going off the top of my head, and nothing, in my opinion, some people would feel differently, and there's great comics that feel differently. So I'm not saying that my way is the only way, but to me, nothing is better than sitting down and writing things out as word for word as possible, because then you can look at them and you could be like, because like with me, everybody has their thing, like, the way that they'll stall during a set. With me, I'll use the word fuck too much. And so when I'm doing a new set, it'll just be the F word, the F word, the F word. And it's like, if I were to sit down and write, then I'm obviously not going to write that word and or constantly like I would when I'm kind of stuttering on stage, and so I need to write more, and I used to write all the time. So it's kind of both what you asked me, it's kind of like, ideally sitting down and writing is the best thing for me, but I don't do it as much as I should lately. I've just been going on stage and trying stuff out, and it goes really well because I give people really natural performances, but I need to write more.
Do you still record yourself on a tape recorder?
I use my voice memo on my phone, and I record almost every set.
Nice. Do you listen to them though?
Not as much as I should. Sometimes I feel...
Sorry, no, because I listen to every one of them, and I'm just like, oh, cool. Is everyone suicidal too? No, because even when it's a good set, I'm just like, oh, this could have gone better.
See, but the thing is, you can, it's really important to record and listen to yourself, because sometimes a joke will work one time and then you do it again and it doesn't work. And then you listen to the way you did it the first time and you're like, oh, because I added this one word or I left this one word out. And sometimes it really is that much of a, what would seem like an inconsequential difference. In your head, you don't think it's that big of a difference, but when you listen to it back, you're like, yes, that one word does change, that one, the, or an, you know what I mean? And it could be a word that inconsequential that you just add in, and it either makes the joke work or not work.
It's kind of like last night or the night before, I did 2 sets in a night, right? And I ended the one set with a great joke, and I ended the second set with the exact same joke, and it was crickets.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is the joke. You would love it, Ty. I said, hey, guys, the only reason why President Trump didn't win this year is because everyone who voted for him the first year died of COVID.
I hate you so much.
Ty, where can the folks at home follow you?
Golden Artist Entertainment. Contact Dante at Golden Artist Entertainment. He'll give you all the links. He's handling all of that for me.
I can hook you up if that's what you want, but seriously, where can the folks find you, buddy?
On Instagram, they can find me at official Ty Rivera. On Venmo, they can find me at tyrivera.comedy. On Cash App, it's just Ty Rivera. On Facebook, it's Ty Rivera.
We got to get you on Cameo.
Yeah, that's what everybody needs is my faggot ass on Cameo. And on YouTube, they can find me just by searching Ty Rivera, ThairIvera. And if you search everything on that, that's the best way to get a hold of me.
All right. Well, Ty, thank you so much for finally doing it. I know we've been trying to do this for a couple years.
Don't rub it in, Keith. All right, you didn't have to say the finally like that. I get it. I shit on your manager. I shouldn't have done that. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. You didn't have to be like, thanks for finally being on. We finally got you to do it. Jesus Christ.
Hey,
if producer to this show, Shane.
Okay.
Is Pedro gonna pop out with a question about Trump for me?
Ty, okay, in all seriousness, thank you. I love you. I had fun.
I love both of you guys. Thanks for having me on.
I love you, Ty. Please don't have your manager write a message or a text message to Keith to ask him not to publish the show and that you were not expecting the co-host.
You'll be hearing from Dante. Bye.
Love you, Ty.
Love you.
Have a good one.
That was the show, guys. Holy Lord, Victor, did you have fun?
Oh, that was fucking great. Jesus Christ. Comedy gems, great conversation, and
it was fun, man. You're a good, trusty sidekick.
Oh, thanks, man. That was funny as fuck, though, man. That was so good. I had a good time, and that was fun to learn some stuff about Ty, and that was God, that was so much fun. I wasn't sure what the format was going to be at the end because I know it's like impromptu. Yeah. And so I was just letting you guide your ship, and I thought that was fucking fun. And Ty's a great fucking sport. I met Ty in person, so he's cool. Yeah. So
Ty loves you very much, man.
Yeah, I love him too. Ty, much like you, has gone up to bat, and that's why I love both of you dudes. In addition for you guys being like really good dudes and funny as fuck.
So, thank you guys. If you guys like this show, follow Ty at Ty Rivera. Follow Victor at Victor, right?
Sure.
And just have Victor?
It's Puro Papi Pacheco, but it's too much. But let's go.
We got to change your name to Victor Titanic.
Yeah, you're right.
And subscribe, rate, review to the show on Apple Podcast. And we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome, man.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee right here on LA Talk Radio.